things.
Are we allowed to do that?
Dad, the way
Are we allowed to do that?
G'day you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be going through the top 10 moments from the Bluey episode The Sign, the 28-minute special that has now aired worldwide.
This is the best day of all my life.
Well, I'm glad someone's having fun.
I'm so excited to hear what your favorite moment was from this episode, so let me know in that comment section down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell for notifications because I will be releasing so many videos about The Sign.
We'll see. No, we won't see. We'll get this going out.
But let's start off with my number 10 favorite moment, going up to number 1, of course, which I think is the best. But number 10 for me is definitely the fish and chip scene at the very end. We did already see Bingo in the trailers, like eating her chippies from this fish and chip scenes. Fish and chips, of course, are iconic for Australia. This is hands down one of our favorite like fast foods. But I really just loved like the animation between Chili and Bandit and like the almost 3D kind of effects that they had on their animations with the shadowing. And the fact that like it only lasts for a few seconds while it looks like they're just talking to each other through their minds. It was just super beautiful. Moving on though to number 9, and that is the animation for the book The Farmer.
Once there was a farmer who owned a beautiful horse, but one day his horse ran away.
I love that they did this in the style of like a pop-up book. It was just something very unique and very different, and I love that they really experimented with this and did something different for this episode as well.
Is that it? What happens next? Why didn't he want to join the army?
Number 8 though, of course, I feel like is the wedding photos. They were so fantastic and just such a beautiful different type of animation as well. It was a very stylized type of animation, again playing on different types of shadow and lighting. And also, where do you think they took these photos? Because it doesn't really look like it's in the backyard. But if you do pause all the different photos at different points and you zoom into different characters, they're all doing like really funny either faces or like they're half asleep or they just didn't know what's happening. So it is really fun to just like stop during those photo scenes and pause it and take a look at everybody in the background. Number 7 kind of ties into this, and that's the wedding ceremony in general. From the moment you see Frisky and her dad together walking down to Rad's expression, but if you look in the background, you see Chili crying, like tearing up as well because Frisky is so beautiful. But also, of course, the funny gag of Nana and then Bob bawling their eyes out as well, which was just so funny. And like, again, they kind of really paired this like emotional with funny scenes throughout the whole episode. So it was really cute them doing it here as well. Now, speaking of crying, that brings me into number 6, and that was Bingo crying.
I can't do it.
Now, this is one of the most emotional points for me. It's when I first started tearing up at this episode. But with Bingo's age and her learning like what is actually going to be happening with her house, it just really broke my heart seeing her reaction to it. But also like Bluey like comforting her and having to realize that she needs to take on this role as well with Bingo to explain what is actually going on. It was just heartbreaking seeing Bingo realize that they were trying to sell their house.
Once upon a time, there was a farmer who owned a horse called Midnight. But one day, Midnight ran away.
Number 5, though, moving on from the crying is going into the rage, and that is Bandit's rage at the end. Seeing Bandit realize that Bucky's call was actually a blessing, and then him going to that sign and then just releasing all that rage that he had pent up at the sign and the idea of them actually having to move, that he had obviously suppressed this whole time because he was just like in his head being like, this is a good idea, this is gonna be great for us.
Am I making a mistake?
Probably.
But seeing his reaction, obviously deep down he didn't feel that way. And like, I love seeing how angry he is when you zoom in, seeing when he's thrown it onto the street. But then Chili's utter happiness tackling him to the ground was again just so beautiful and heartwarming and teary. And emotional as well, because you realize that really Bandit just wants to stay as well. My number 4 moment was Rad and Frisky, but not at their wedding, but at the Mount Cootha scene.
How did you find me?
I know you like it here.
I do.
And aside from the fact that like, where did Rad like jump from and come into the scene from? Because there are no stairs back there. It was just in general a really beautiful and emotional scene between Rad and Frisky and them coming together and sorting out their miscommunication problems and just hearing Rad tell her that like he knows her. I just loved this sort of like reconciliation moment. I thought it was so beautiful. My number 3 moment, of course, is the surprise, Brandy's pregnant, even though, surprise, we already saw it in the trailer. But of course, it was in general surprising because we did think that she was infertile because of the episode onesies, but now, of course, she is getting her fairy tale ending and has her own little baby as well. I did already do a video about who the baby's father might be, so I'll leave a link for that up here as well as in the description box and like comment section down below as well if you want to go and check that out. But in general, it was just so gorgeous seeing her and Chili so happy and her rubbing her belly. My number 2 moment though was, of course, finally finding out where Grandpa Bob had been this entire time, because he's been missing since season 1 and we had no idea where he was. But it turns out Ludo Studios have been leaving us clues in the background all throughout season 3.
What were you doing in India for so long, Bobber?
Well, girls.
He was off trying to find himself.
Now, of course, we find out that Grandpa Bob has actually been in India this whole time trying to find himself. And all throughout season 3, they have left like postcards from India around the place and magnets from like the elephants and souvenirs that you find in India as well. So that turns out that our theory about that was right. It was Grandpa Bob in India this whole time doing a whole Eat, Pray, Love tour.
That's silly. Why do you need to find yourself? Yeah, you're right here.
What? Ah.
Now, my number 1 moment when I just like broke in this episode and started crying was the part between the terrier's mum and Winton's dad, and of course the terriers and Winton as well.
Hey, hang on. What's this?
What's what?
There's a house for sale, and it's beautiful.
Now, this has been set up since season 2 in a helicopter when Winton talks about his dad's pool all the time and the fact that his dad's divorced.
Fly over my dad's house. He has a pool. Where does he live? I don't know. Winton. I know he doesn't live with my mom.
And then, of course, in this episode, we hear the terriers telling Winton that their mum likes his dad, which confirms what we had already seen in the episode TV shop as well.
My dad doesn't live with my mum and now he's lonely all the time. Aww. How mum likes your dad.
But seeing Winton talk about how lonely his dad was, and then this scene just perfectly linking in with the fact that the sheepdog wanted a house with a pool, and it turns out it was Winton's pool that they wanted all along, and that their dad had it up for sale because he was officially moving in with the terriers. Him and Winton are going to be living with the terriers now. You see that emotional part where they all yell hooray. They're going to be a happy little family together. Honestly, that just like was the most emotional and happy scene for me, because we know this has been like a long time in the making and that it was going to be really important, and the fact that it was Winton and his dad's house that saved the Healer house just makes it so special for me, and the number 1 moment in my book.
And look what it's got.
A pool! What do we do?
But cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below, what was your favorite moment from this episode? And 28 minutes is of course a long time, so if you have a couple of favorites, don't worry about it, leave them all down in that comment section down below. And like I said, don't forget to hit the buttons down there, the like one, the subscribe one, and that bell for notifications, so you can see all the other insane amount of like Bluey the Sign episode videos that I have coming out this week. But until then, cheeky dogs, I picked you out a few other videos that maybe you would like to watch, and I will see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!